and Grease and Gears Garage.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Jackie.
Right?
Yeah, all right. That's what we call in the business world a smattering of applause. So, hey, guys, come on down. Come on down. We got a great guy, a local guy making good here. We've got Adolfo. Adolfo. I called him Alfonso the other day. I don't know why. He kind of looks like an Alfonso. It's kind of messed up. It's Adolfo, but not the German kind of Adolfo, the more Hispanic Adolfo with the F in the name.
Yeah.
We got to remind Chris Callum from Cycle Source of that. At least he called you the right name or wrote the right name. I got the whole wrong name. But anyway, brother Sanchez, he has Los Angeles Fairing Company, and he's busting out some really cool fairings for Sportsters, FXRs, any kind of custom bike really that you got. He's just off the chain with what he's got. So he's going to walk us through today here at Grease and Gears Garage, kind of the manufacturing process of that, his design process, fitment process, and kind of how it will relate to you and your particular motorcycle. Again, Grease and Gears Garage, we're Facebook Living this. So far, we're averaging about 50,000 viewers for each segment of Dolphins. So don't be nervous. 50,000 people are watching you, but it's okay.
Yeah, that doesn't make me nervous. I'm more afraid of heights.
He's afraid of height. Yeah, well, you're up here now. So anyway, man, tell me first of all, how did you move into the motorcycle thing? Where are you fitting in our community?
So I started working at a shop as a gopher, helping out a guy that was working on all kinds of motorcycles from the 80s, 90s, like Yamahas and Hondas and stuff. And then he worked on vintage Harley Davidsons. So he told me that he had gone to school to learn how to work on motorcycles. So I looked into schooling and I went to MMI and I graduated. I got out of school, came back to California, got a job at the Harley dealer. And I worked there for like 3 years. I went to another Harley dealer and I worked there for another 3 years. And after that, I got a job where I'm working at now, where I work on vintage Indian motorcycles.
Yeah, Kiwi Mike.
Yeah,
Kiwi Indian motorcycles. Yeah, that's MO. What a great guy he is.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how you spend every day with him, but
I don't either.
Because he pays you.
He pays me to hang out.
That's it. So, well, and while you've been there, then how did you decide that? I mean, fairings. I mean, you can decide to do a lot of stuff, but what got you into what got your mind going about doing fairings?
So when I was in school, I remember them talking to us about fairings and fairing technology. And I remember one of my teachers talking about Buell, Eric Buell, and how he was working on a XBRR. And he said that he wind tunnel tested all the fairings for the XBRR. And then he said that he got this, I think the guy's name was Matt Mladen or something like that, and he got him to be his test rider, and he ran their course with the bike naked, and then he ran the course with full fairings, and he did it 1 second faster.
Wow.
And in racing, that's a lot.
Yeah, in racing, that's huge when you're talking about hundredths of a second separating places in a race. That's huge.
Yeah, so then that just kind of intrigued me, like, that it was real. Like, you can get a lot of performance out of a fairing, and that was like, in a crotch rocket, bike, style bike. So when I got my Sportster, and I started riding a lot, commuting a lot of commuting, and I remember like the wind, the cold wind, the air. It was more annoying than anything, and I started looking into fairings. So, I bought my first fairing was the wrong fairing that didn't fit my bike, and then from there, I made my own mounts to make it fit my bike. And then people started asking me, like, hey, how did you mount that fairing to your bike? How did you mount that fairing? Can you make me a fairing to mount my bike, to mount to their bike? And I started making mounts. And then I looked into fiberglass. And one of my uncles was doing fiberglass. He was working for casinos and stuff like that, doing fiberglass. So he taught me a lot of the about making molds and making little parts. So then I just started making fairings.
Cool. Now, now what have you got? You got Steve-O with you here, right?
Yeah, Steve, big Steve.
Steve, and he was taking pictures a little while ago, but now he's a mechanic, so he's a multitasker.
Yeah.
So now, what do you guys got for us today? What are you going to be showing us?
So, you need a wrench. So, I used to make a smaller cafe fairing, and everyone used to ask me about making a bigger fairing. So, everyone wanted me to make like the Harley 3/4 fairing or like a T-Sport fairing, which is already out there. There's a lot of companies that already make it, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to copy something else, you know. So, I started to design a big fairing for myself, you know, and I mostly designed it on my Sportster. It was a 2002 Sportster, and I wanted it to be taller. I wanted it to be wider, and I noticed that all the quarter fairings ended about right here, you know, like they swooped up. So I wanted something that would block wind lower without installing lower fairings to the bike. So in the fairing. So in the fairing, I added these parts right here. Right here. So on a smaller motorcycle, this motorcycle is bigger, but on a smaller one, when you tuck your knees in, it deflects wind off of your knees, right? And then the motor warms your legs up.
Nice.
So it's kind of like you get a fairing and built-in wind deflectors with it, you know, all in one piece. I didn't want to change the style of the scene, like the club style scene. So that was kind of a challenge to make it look not so import, you know, and keep it still like American classic look, you know. So I came up with this. So I think I want to say like the Harley fairing ends about right here, and then I think they sell like an extension piece that you put on it, and it makes it like this tall. So with mine, you don't have to buy any extensions. It's the one
right
piece
there.
that's taller, and then it's lower.
And you the mount system is super simple too that he's working on there, I see. Tell me about how that thing mounts.
So the mounts, I wanted to keep them real simple because not everybody has a full-blown shop at their house, you know, so I know they weren't going to be able to weld or cut or do any kind of crazy installation. So I try to keep it really simple. I got in contact with a friend of mine who's a professional fabricator. He fabricates for a living, and you can leave that on. Just tighten it back up, yeah. And he helped me design this mounting system. We wanted it really, really simple. So what we did is we created this piece here that it's kind of like a half tube here, and it fits over the fork leg, and then we're using a stainless steel clamp that holds it in place. Real simple. So literally to mount this, you need a 5/32 Allen and a 7/16 wrench.
And it's a 4-point mount, so it's real stable. It's not going to give you any wobble or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way we mount it, it's really tight against the headlight, so there's no shaking. Like when you're going really fast, there's no shaking.
Now, now your uncle, I don't want you to have to give away any secrets, so everybody, I can guarantee you nobody's just going to run out and start making fairings. So, but walk me through that process of making a mold. I mean, how does that manufacturing process go?
Yeah, so there was a lot that I didn't know about fiberglass. Like when I first started, like there's epoxy. There's like an epoxy way of doing it, which is like a 1-to-1 ratio, but there's no forgiveness in that one, and it's really rigid. So like your piece will come out really hard and almost brittle. You know, it'll be strong, but if you ever were to crash it, it would crack. Right. So my uncle was telling me about polyester gel coat. So the black you see on here, there's no paint on this. The black you see is gel coat. It's polyester gel coat, so it makes it flexible. So it has a little bit of give on it. If it was epoxy, it'd be a lot more rigid.
Well, and that's important because when that wind is pushing against that fairing, it's got a 4-point mount. It's very rigid when that's pushing against.
Because a lot of the bikes are black. Everyone likes the black, so I use the black. The other thing too that I had to come up with was making the windscreen, because I make all this in-house. Like I make it at my shop. So At first, I used a thinner piece of polycarbonate, and then whenever I hit 90, I know you're not supposed to go doing 90 on the freeway, but
You only did it for research and development.
yeah. So whenever you did like 90 on the freeway, it would start to shake, and it would start to make noise, you know. And so then I had to go with a thicker piece, and now I don't get that. But even that, I had to back to the fiberglass. So fiberglass itches. Like if you ever get it on your skin, it itches really bad, you know, and like it's so annoying. I can't imagine anybody dreams about growing up and working in fiberglass.
You do, you're weird.
Yeah, but now like I'm so used to it now. I can feel it itching, but I don't have to scratch it, you know. And like, there's a bunch of tricks. Like someone told me that you put like baby powder, and it clogs up all your pores, so then it doesn't itch.
Oh, right on. Yeah, that's a good word.
Yeah, so there's a lot of little tricks, and you kind of get used to it. I know at like big fiberglass like factories and stuff, they wear like full suits. I don't, you know, I don't.
You do it pretty much in the nude, I understand.
Yeah.
So he really likes the fiberglass. Now, what about the mold? How do you make the mold for the different fairings that you've got?
So to make the mold, you need a plug, right? You need an original piece, and then you make a mold off of that piece. So that's what took me so long. It took me like 3 years to make this. So I started off using like bits of cardboard and chicken wire and whatever I could to bend it and shape it to the shape that I wanted. And after I had something that looked like a fairing, I bonded it. I bonded all of it, and then I sanded all down smooth, and then it looked like crap. You know, I remember everyone telling me like, what are you doing? It looks ugly. You know, I thought it was so beautiful, man. I remember I used to show people pictures, and now when I look back at the pictures, I can't believe I used to show them. Like, everyone thought I was crazy because it was ugly. It was really ugly. But once I had a piece that was really finished, I had an ex-girlfriend who was an art major, so she helped kind of like make it look pretty, you know, like she kind of like told me what was crooked and stuff like that. And
not enough so much that she didn't help so much that she could ever come after you for royalties on the design.
No.
Okay.
Hell
I want to put that up.
No, but once I got the piece, then you know you gotta wax it. You gotta wax the piece, and then you lay the gel coat over it. But then you gotta get like tooling gel coat, because I guess regular gel coat will shrink with the sun or shrink in time. So you take a piece and then you gotta coat all of it with gel coat, and then you gotta start laying fiberglass over it so you get it like maybe like 3/4 thick, so it doesn't move, you know, And once you have that, the original piece pretty much gets destroyed. Like all that hard work pretty much gets destroyed.
And the wax keeps it from sticking to the original piece.
Yeah.
And so that a 3/4 inch fiberglass mold then just pops off of there. And and then what do you do next? How do you then use that mold?
So after you make the mold, we had to make a base so it doesn't move, so you can work with it, and which was kind of challenging too. And like lay everything down, and then you wax that piece, and then you do the same thing in reverse. You know, you add the gel coat, you add the fiberglass, then you got to trim all the edges, and then you got to pull it off. If there's any chips or any imperfections in the fairing, you got to repair them right then and there.
Wow.
Yeah. So it is a lot of work. It's a lot of work because when they come out like sealed. It's like one piece, and then I got to go back in there and cut this hole out, and then form the window, and then make it fit. So it's pretty good.
And now,
so
how many? I mean, how long does it take once you do that? Once you get that mold, how long does it take to make one fairing?
From beginning to end, it probably with the buffing and the polishing, it probably takes maybe like 3 hours.
3 hours for every fairing. That's a lot of work. I know.
Yeah.
Now, what about the windshield? What do you use that polycarbonate? You had to make a mold for that as well?
Yeah. So the windscreen, I went to some plastic manufacturer and I dug through their scrap pile. And I used and then I tried to get a company to make them for me, and nobody would.
Nobody out.
They just said that it was something that should be made like in China or something like that. And so I went to a bunch of plastic manufacturers, and I talked to other plastic technicians, and they all gave me a bunch of tips and advice and things to try. And I went back to my shop and I tried all of them until I figured out a process that worked for me. So I had one piece. Then I made myself two pieces, two fairings, one fairing and one extra mold, and then I cut them out. I went to Home Depot and I bought like a door hinge, and I modified the door hinge, so now I hinged myself like a compression mold.
All right.
So I bought like all this like thermoforming equipment, like ovens and stuff, and I got in contact with one of the plastic manufacturers who has a CNC router. So I took them my design. I had to flatten one out and take them my design, and now they CNC route all the windscreens for me. And then I throw them in the oven. They come out of the oven. I throw them in my compression mold. Bam.
Wow.
They come out, yeah.
So you just pretty much figured this out all by yourself.
Yeah. It took me like 3 years. It took me like 3 years, but I figured it out. Yeah.
Man. Now, so how long has Los Angeles Fairing Company been around now?
For 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years.
And it's still obviously not your main go because you're still working with that guy from New Zealand.
Yeah.
Oh, man, you got to make some more fairings. I don't know how you're doing it. It's got to be killing you.
Yeah.
Ben Kuden doesn't stop by the shop, does he?
Oh, yeah. Ben,
oh, my God.
Ben's cool.
But hey, just ask him. So you've got this mounted up. Can you show us? Okay, so this mounts underneath. You take out your riser bolts.
Yes.
And you've got a metal plate here. I don't know. I'm sure the cameras are showing this. You got a metal plate here, and then the riser bolts go under, and that's going to hold that on.
Yeah.
And not unlike kind of old Harleys used to do that for headlights and stuff like that. So.
Yeah.
And then you've got these two brackets that you got a nut and a bolt there.
Yeah. So originally I designed this on a Sportster. So this bike here has a triple tree mounted headlight. And the Sportsters have this eyelid that hangs off the top here. So my mounts were designed to mount off of that eyelid mount. So this bike didn't have it, so I made this plate that mounts to the riser bolts and gives you those two mounts.
Right on. Okay.
So that's what that plate is. That's what those mounts are.
Yeah.
And then it's literally the same exact setup that I have for my sports.
Man, it completely changes up the look of the motorcycle too. I mean, I know that, like Eric Buell, you got inspired by the fact that it's going to cut down on, time and racing and stuff. But man, I tell you, they add flavor to bikes that might otherwise, just kind of be blah or look like every other bike out there.
Yeah.
But with your fairings, I mean, there's really nothing else out there like them. I mean, Chris and I had been talking. I told you I got a Road King at the house that I'm getting ready to do, kind of like War Pony that we're doing on stage over the shows. Man, I'm going to get one of these because I want that. That's going to be just killer. I'm going to have to modify it a little bit for the bigger headlight, but
yeah, and there's enough room to do that.
Oh, there's enough meat on there for sure to do that. So
it'll look really good. Yeah, there's a couple of my customers that bought it and then they cut the tunnel out. They cut these off. One guy cut it shorter so it looks really like small and weird, and that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. Like from working at all the Harley dealers and all the shops, every time we ordered a fiberglass kit for anything like a fender, a saddlebag, or a chin scoop or something, they never fit, and it's almost like they send it to you with extra material so you can cut it and you can modify it and personalize it, right? And make it fit your bike. So I designed this with a 3-inch deep headlight tunnel. That's just what I like, and what it does, it makes the bike look bigger, so when you hold it up like this, your bike sticks out 3 inches further up.
Gives you a nose really on a bike. Yeah, it really.
Yeah, and then it helps with the wind deflection.
Absolutely.
It's further out. But it looks cool too when you cut it off and you smash it up. It looks really good.
Well, that's nice because of the material it is, you can customize it, and because it's the specific material it is, you don't have to worry about. I mean, it's going to be more forgiving with you cutting on it and sanding on it and that kind of stuff at home. So
yeah,
but they look killer just the way they are. Can you mount it up so we can see just how kind of quick it mounts up to those those
Yeah.
mounts then.
Yeah, so these lower mounts are literally just 2 clamps. There's nothing crazy about this. You just put this piece in place, and then the 2 clamps, tighten it up with a 7/16 wrench. And then the top ones are the same way. It's 2 bolts. So my kit comes with everything: the clamps, the bolts, the nuts, the washers, the rubber washers, the bolt covers for these. It comes with everything. You're gonna get this in the mail, and then if you don't want to paint it, you can just put it right on. You don't have to, you don't have to pay extra to get it mounted. Do that one.
So you got any designs on maybe having somebody like JMP Cycles carry this?
They haven't called me yet.
They haven't called you? You might need to call them. We'll get some pictures of this, man. That would be cool. They're the largest distributor of aftermarket motorcycle parts in the world. You get this in there, man, you might not have to go see Kiwi every day.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Of course, you'd never sleep then. You'd be doing this 7 days a week all of a sudden.
I'd sleep. It'd be Steve here making everything.
Steve will never sleep. We like that better.
That one. Yeah, so the first kit for a Dyna that I sold, the guy called me and he said that he couldn't get it to fit. So what it is you got to kind of install everything like loosely, and then you slowly start tightening everything down, and then you got to keep stepping back and checking alignment, and then until it cinches down.
And now, so this is the style fairing that you do. This
one's on? Oh. I thought you were put on.
You have other designs coming?
Yeah. Let it go.
Is he helping or hurting you there, Adolfo?
Yeah.
I can't tell. I can't tell if he's your buddy or your nemesis at this point. But look at that. It makes a profound difference cosmetically. I mean, that completely transforms this bike.
Just yeah. So I have some other stuff that I make. I make hand guards. I make hand guards out of fiberglass.
Okay.
Right now, most of the hand guards that are out there for Dynas and Sportsters, they're making them out of metal. So I don't like.
He's got it. He's going to save you right there.
A nut?
Towards the stage. He's got it.
It's gone.
There we go.
Thank you very much. So everyone makes them out of metal, and I'm making them out of composite, out of fiberglass and carbon fiber.
Right.
So what they're doing is they're making them out of metal, and then they're welding like a bark buster bracket.
Right.
So I don't like that.
Because for city riding, you're not really looking for the bark buster.
Yeah, and if you hit a car doing like 80,
you're gonna, that thing, it's like wearing a steel toe boot when you drop 1,000 pounds on it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it crushes and your toes are on one side and your foot's on the other. So,
yeah, it's not gonna give. So you don't need to make it. You don't need to make it bulletproof, But so what I did is I made a bark buster bar, but I made it out of HDPE, which is high density polyethylene. It's basically like a butcher board. That plastic that's like really slippery. I made it out of that. So I made it out of 3/4 HDPE. I thermoformed it, and then my handguard is made out of fiberglass. So the good thing about my handguard is that you can take it off in the summer and then put it on in the winter.
Right on.
You can leave the rod in place.
And the better thing is, if you actually do clip something with it,
yeah, it'll
you get to keep your hand.
Yeah, it'll give. It'll move or it'll flex.
It'll flex. Yeah.
All of these fairings have been crash tested.
Whether you wanted to or not.
Yeah, not on purpose, but crash tested. So I sponsored 2 kids, and they both stunt ride. They do wheelies, burnouts. They crash all the time, So
they scuff but don't break either.
Yeah, they don't break. They don't. It's fiberglass. I made it out of that polyester, so it has that flex in it. The only thing that ever really happens is this bolt gets worn down.
Right.
And that's it. And then all I really do is just send them more bolts, and they keep going.
That's
you know?
good.
You can sand it, paint it again. You know, it's not plastic. I know some of the fairings, like from China. Some of the guys said, you know, I get emails all the time about people who tell me that they bought a fairing from China cheap for like $50, $40, and they look good. You know, man, like when I saw them, I was like, man, that's really good. You know, $40, $50, and then, you know, they tell me that they did a wheelie, and when they came down, the fairing fell off. One guy said that his bike just fell off. You know, it was on the kickstand and just like got knocked over, and the fairing broke off. One guy spent a bunch of money getting it painted, like the lowrider style paint.
Oh, the panel paint.
Yeah. And then he laid his bike down, and the fairing crunched, and the party painted just like
Popped
broke off.
So made in the United States, right here in Southern California, Riverside.
San Bernardino right now.
San Bernardino.
Started in LA, but we're in San Bernardino right now. Yeah.
Okay, and you got the handguards. If somebody wants to look you up, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you for a fairing or some handguards?
The website, it's lafairingco.com.
lafairingco.com, and you're on Instagram?
On Instagram also, yeah. It's Los Angeles Fairing Company.
Los Angeles Fairing Company. Well, man, I tell you, you know, a lot of people, again, we look at folks in the motorcycle industry and we're like, oh, man, that guy makes fairings. And you think, oh, he's overnight, you know, this guy's just, you know, got his company. 20 years in the making, though, you know, I mean, you've been thinking about this and working at it and struggling, but now you've got this process down. And, man, I tell you, everybody I talk to about you, though, they say couldn't happen to a nicer guy. And, you know, that you're doing good. I mean, you're a hometown boy, you know, making good on this. So good on you. And, I mean, I'm hitting you up, absolutely. I'm putting in an order today. I got to get one of these for that project that I'm doing. And they're just high-quality stuff, man. So go to lafairingco.com, LA Fairing Company on Instagram. And it's Adolfo with an F, not a PH.
Yeah.
And it's not Alfonso. So there you go. Which would have been cool, though, because Alfonso's short is Fonzie, which would have been cool, but we'll just call you Adolfo instead.
Yeah.
Well, man, it's good to have you on Grease and Gears Garage. Thanks so much. Excited about your product, and appreciate you kind of walking us through what it actually takes to do a fairing. Oh, man, I was ignoring that question. I'm sorry. No, I wasn't. How much? How much are your fairings?
They're $350. So if you wanted one without the windscreen, because I sell them without the windscreen, because for whatever reason in the Dyna scene, they paint it. You know, it's like you can see through this, but it's a thing to paint your windscreen, you know, or they bondo it in, you know. So there's two options. You can get it like this with the windscreen, or you can get it sealed. So you don't have to pay extra to get it sealed up. But it's $350 with the windscreen, and it's $300 without it.
300 without it. All right. And that comes with the brackets, everything you're going to need.
Comes with everything.
To mount it up.
Take it out of the box and put it on if you don't want to paint it.
All right, man. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for us, actually, at the Progressive IMS show in Long Beach. But, man, Adolfo, good on you. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate you being here. And we're going to see you guys in a couple of weeks in New York. Facebook Live, folks. Keep hanging. Tell people to go look at this stuff. All the cool stuff you saw, they can now go back and look at. So we know that they're going to want to see it. Jackie, we're going to throw it back to you in the Progressive.